Okay, so we're going to be playing some Crazyhouse with Bakkouz on his Crazyhouse account, BKZH, and I'm going to be discussing maybe some slower Crazyhouse to give me the chance to discuss ideas, and hopefully this will be useful for those who want to say who are under 2,000 and want to get better at Crazyhouse. So 5 plus 5, yeah, that's good. So we're in. Right. Okay, so d4, the more positional move. e4, usually the tactics are sharper, and you have to know your opening theory a bit better. Bishop g5, this is an interesting move in bullet because your opponent might play e6 and lose the queen. And I notice Yasser Serouan likes to play this move a lot. Bishop g5. Taking the knight's a bad idea because the whole point of that bishop being there is it's when I move that e-pawn, it's creating a pin. Taking the knight, it gives me this formation around my king with 4 pawns protecting the king, which is going to be very safe if I castle kingside. And we see in some openings with e4, knight f6, e5, you even leave the knight on f6 because you're so happy to even give up a piece to get this formation. So that's a little bit of a positional mistake. Okay, so I'm going to go give him a check. Now yeah, exactly, this is exactly what I'm hoping for. And it's not necessarily a bad move, but if he moved the knight to c3, he's kind of leaving his knight pinned. c3 is good because it's wasting a tempo. It's forcing black to waste a tempo. I'm going to have to move the bishop back. But it's exactly what I intended with that move because it does create a weakness on c2, which I'm now going to have a look at with my bishop. There's no immediate threat on c2, but it's just a weakness in white's position, which is it's possible to defend, but it's just a little bit troublesome. So if I ever got a knight, for example, I could drop a knight on c2 and I win a rook, and then I suddenly have a back rank attack. Yeah, so and white's got a little bit of a development issue because bishop to f4 also seems to discourage e4. So he's likely going to play e3 to develop this bishop, and you see how all his pawns are on dark squares. So this is going to create slight problems in the future with light square weaknesses, unless he can castle quickly and everything is safe. Okay, so queen to b3. So you have to watch out with queen develop. It's a good move because it's attacking a pawn. I think whenever you make a queen move, it's good to be attacking something, because the problem with the queen, or controlling a lot of squares, something a little bit nervous about moving the queen is queen out is it does make the queen open to being hit by tempi. Like if I have a lot of pieces in hand, I could lay them on, attacking that queen. But here, this is a perfectly, it's a very decent move. So one idea I have is I could play bishop to h6, so that if he ever plays e3, I then stop him from castling kingside, or just delay his castling kingside. But what I'm going to do here, and I can't play queen f8, so this is actually hitting both my d pawn and my b pawn, so it's quite a good move. And because I haven't developed the knight, I can't just move the rook across to defend, so it's causing a slight problem. So what am I going to do? I think I'm going to defend with the bishop on a6, because that also has that double purpose of delaying his development. But I need to get my knight out so that the rook takes that job. I had other ideas of just moving the knight out and going rook b8, but the problem is the knight would hang on c6, and if I move the knight to d7, then the d pawn hangs, and there are no real traps. So this is actually quite a nice move. I should either go bishop to c6 or a6. The advantage of c6, it will stop any checks on my king, but I think for any checks I can move my knight out. One reason not to play bishop at c6 is if he had a pawn to drop on b5. But since he has no pawns in hand, so this is something quite important I had to check. He's got no pawns in hand to drop on b5, so bishop at a6 is safe. So he has now a little bit of a development problem. He either castles queenside into a very weak queenside, or he plays e3 and goes for something quite sharp, where I might take his bishop and then he might either recapture or even go on a counterattack on b2, on b7 rather. Okay, again, a nice move a nice idea in terms of you're hitting both the d pawn and the bishop, but this move doesn't work, because remember my bishop was placed targeting c2, so the knight is exactly the piece I need to drop on c2. So this move gives me a lot of initiative. If he takes with the queen, he's losing the queen. If he takes with the pawn, he's losing the rook. And yeah, so I'd say his best approach in that position was e3, and there were two possibilities: bishop takes bishop, knight takes, and then I have to then redefend with another bishop on a6, or maybe a very interesting line was bishop takes bishop, and he goes straight on a counterattack, queen takes b7, and I think that would have been quite interesting who was winning in that situation. Whereas here I'm in on the back rank, I'm going to pick up a rook, which I can even pre-move. I don't have any other follow-up checks, so I might as well just go straight away pick up the rook. If I had a pawn in hand, then I could drop the pawn on c2 then and think of back rank ideas, like rook at d1 checkmate. So, but yeah, actually maybe that's interesting. So that makes me think maybe bishop takes pawn is an idea. But the point is he can defend c2. So if I could play two moves on my next move, I would go bishop takes pawn check, he takes back, and then I've got knight takes rook, pawn at c2. But I don't have two moves he could defend in the meantime. Okay, so I'm picking up the rook, and what I really want is a pawn or a bishop for c2, because then pawn at c2, rook at d1 would be a mating idea. So that's something. So if this were Bakkouz, and my partner was in this position, I'd be telling my partner cover c2. This is not Bakkouz. Okay, so here this is interesting. Because the safe thing to do would be to drop a rook in defense. But the slightly more risky thing to do would be to drop a queen and say, well, look, my king is safe. But I think there's never a harm in being a little. So obviously, is there a harm in being too safe? A little bit, because then you don't have the material you need to continue your attack. But I'm just going to be really safe here. I think. Yeah, it's a shame to have to drop the rook, because I wanted the rook for pawn at c2 and then rook at d1 checkmate. But it isn't worth. So I was thinking of queen at e7, exchange queens. So he has no knights. He only got bishops and queen in hand. So I would in fact be safe in that position. But there's no reason to take that risk. Oh, but giving away the queen for a rook is is not a good idea. I had no. Yeah, this doesn't work. The bishop takes it. So yeah, this is he's given away all his material. I just need a diagonal piece to get in on his position, and yeah. Okay, so if I'm going to quickly open this up in analysis board and add it to a study. So just give me a second. Okay, new study. And we're going to call this Bakkouz Games. Save. Yeah, so bishop g5 is said was a mistake. So like even here it says already black's minus 1. Okay, so c3 is in fact the best move, but it was, I mean, this was the purpose. The purpose of this move is to encourage c3, but c3 is still probably the best move. Maybe knight b to d2, but no, c3 is perfectly decent. So coming back to e7, it's fine. So it thinks maybe I should have developed my knight first, but so queen to b6, bishop to a6. Okay, so this is the point where we could have gone down a different route and it would still be a very interesting game. e3, bishop takes f1, and there would be a question of, do you retake this bishop with the knight so that you can still castle, or can you go on a counterattack with queen takes b7? And I wasn't sure myself, but just looking at Stockfish now, it says that queen takes b7 absolutely doesn't work. So I go bishop takes pawn. You can't just keep on chomping away. Queen takes rook, bishop takes rook. The problem is I'm eating into your whole king side, whereas you're eating into my queen side. I've got a now safe place for my king, whereas your king has got a bishop staying in one side and a gaping hole on g2 on the other side. So if I did take on f1, that's the reason why you should take back, because you need to keep a safe haven for your king. And then I was thinking of dropping again on a6. That was my original plan in this kind of situation. And you see here, this is knight g3 preparing to castle. This would have been still very solid for white. Very good game for white to play. It says even stronger was bishop at e4, but I didn't see that. But I was thinking, yeah, this is how the game should have continued, not the bishop takes h1 stuff. Bishop to a6, knight here. Yeah, and this now my bishop's under attack, so I'd have to probably have moved it to e4 just to keep an eye on c2, even though, yeah, that would have probably been my kind of thinking in this kind of position. Now the problem is your knight is being hit, so if you just castled it, I would open up your king side. So my hunch in this position would be play a move like bishop at d2, but the computer's got other ideas with knight h4. I wouldn't see that move at all, because I would think that's just moving the knight somewhere where it's not really doing anything useful. Bishop at b5 check is another idea. Bishop at f5. Yeah, again, I don't get these ideas because I can just take on f3 and create a weakness on g2. So let's see, is bishop at e2 so bad? Apparently it is. I mean, that's Stockfish for you. I don't. Okay, I like bishop at b5. This is a nice idea. Takes. Yeah, and then I'd be thinking bishop at c6. It says just give away the pawn. Just go knight d7, and if you take the pawn, just swing across, and I'm into your position. But if I was being really safe, I'd play bishop at c6. You play queen at e2. Okay, now this would be a very human continuation, because now your queen is defending your knight. You can now castle safely. Okay, so this is my alternate reality of how the game should have gone. But yeah, instead, knight here, it's a tactical thing that the knight is coming in on c2, and yeah, your only thing here is you have to defend c2. Okay, queen e3 check is fine. Yeah, so yeah, that's very interesting. I was thinking queen e7 is too risky because it gives away the queen. You don't have anything, but yeah, so queen e7 is actually a very good move. And the reason it's because the rook is a really useful mating piece, and so rook e7 is too passive. But actually, I really like what computer says is the best move, which is king f8. It just didn't occur to me. Just move the king out of the way. That way, I'm not. King is perfectly safe. You can hide away on g8, and I've still got my rook in hand for the mate. So yeah, I feel rook d7 is a little bit of a mistake, but then obviously this tactic just didn't work. It was a nice idea that I had nothing in hand. I'd have to put the queen back here and give it back, or else I'd have to move the king. So it was a nice idea, but unfortunately my bishop was covering this square. So hi there, Bioptic Puma. This is what I'm doing. But I'm doing it with BKZH, Bakkouz, who's in voice chat with me. And I'm training him through playing some slow games with him. But yeah, I really agreed to play him for this stream. But hopefully, I mean, you're welcome to suggest moves, and I'll comment on the moves you suggest. Okay, so I'm a d4 player, so I won't try and play e4 because I don't know any theory. And bishop f4 is the London system. It's quite popular in standard chess, and it turns out to be even more popular in Crazyhouse because it's a very nice, solid setup for white. It's not trying to claim a massive advantage, but it's just trying to claim initiative as white. And okay, so first off here, maybe black has made a slight error already. It's not a huge error, but just a slight one in playing e6, because this is blocking in the dark squared bishop. So it's actually fine to play e6 even at the highest level, but playing bishop f5 and then e6 is just slightly more active. But this is actually perfectly fine. Okay, so now here's the first sort of slight testing move, because there are lots of choices, yeah, and this is a slight mistake. There are lots of choices black can play here. You can play knight c6, bishop d7, or c6. You don't want to go king f8, not castle. I think I would play knight c6 normally, or no, bishop d7 is also good. So see, is this this dark squared bishop is trapped behind this pawn chain, so it's not a particularly good bishop, whereas this bishop's a good bishop. So bishop d7 would be both offering an exchange for your bad bishop for the good bishop, but also if I take that bishop, you're taking back and developing another piece with tempo. So I've spent one move taking this out, and you've done two moves. You've done bishop d7, knight takes. So you've done two developing moves, and then now you've got a piece. Yeah, so I think, okay, but now this move, yeah, so actually this move is quite sharp, but I think it's not good because just like in the previous game, it's going to create this formation. It's fine in chess, but in Crazyhouse, it creates weaknesses on the dark squares. So for example here, I can even just ignore this bishop and just take your bishop on d6. So you want to recapture one of these two bishops, and you have to think, which one do I want to recapture? The problem is if you don't capture the one on d6, then I'm going to lay another bishop on f7. But if you do capture on d6, I've got another counterattack with bishop at e5. I think the bishop on d6 is the more valuable piece. But there's certainly issues. It's not completely clear. Like, so if you took the bishop on b5, there's still tricks. Like if I took with the knight, then there are checks on my king. You just won a bishop, which defend a lot of these key squares, which would defend c7. So bishops are very nice because they can both defend and attack at the same time. So, for example, this is a very important idea in this position: is at some point dropping a bishop, both checking my king and defending on c7. Since this c7 weakness is going to be an issue in future. But I think queen takes d6 may be better. Yeah. But yeah, I don't want to prejudge. So here we've just exchanged bishops. If I move my bishop back, I haven't really gained anything apart from this weakness. But what I could do is I've got a certain initiative and I have a bishop in hand, so I can lay that bishop on. I've got two squares I could put it down on. Now the secret of this is if I laid it down on c4, a queen is actually worth about 2 pieces in Crazyhouse. And the queen could literally just take c4, takes back, and then takes my bishop. That would be exchange of 2 pieces. Okay, there'd be a lot of compromise in the black structure, but that would actually be fine. But laying it down on e5 feels better, because if he tries to sack his queen, so I don't think sacking the queen is... Yeah, I don't think sacking the queen is such a good idea. But if he did sack the queen, takes back, the problem is he can't then pick up the bishop because I'm still on his knight. So I think that's the right move. Okay, so we've both just we're both level on material. But do I have to just retreat this bishop, or is there something more I could do? Feels like there should be something more I can do in this position. I could go bishop takes knight. And the point is, if he takes back with the queen, I can then drop a knight on c7 check. But I don't know if I want to give up. This bishop's a very powerful piece, so I'm not sure if I want to give it up quite so easily. But I haven't quite got what I wanted. So I've got huge weakness, but I haven't yet got any material advantage. So I'm afraid I'm not going to make the correct move in this position, because there's probably a very critical move here just to secure white's advantage. So I'm wondering if I can even sacrifice my bishop. It seems that would just help black develop with knight takes c6, though. That doesn't feel right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the knight. It's a very forcing move, and if he takes back with the pawn, he wrecks his structure even more. But if he takes back with the queen, then I do get then I'm going to win a rook for my bishop. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I win a rook, and once he takes a bishop, I'm going knight takes pawn, so I'm threatening to drop a pawn on c7, etc. But if he takes, so it's a dilemma. If you take with the queen, I'm winning the rook, and I'm beginning either a material up or beginning an attack. If you will try and equalize the material, if you take with the pawn, there's going to be you're going to have to keep your king in the center, which is not, and try and attack down the g file. Trying to make the most of your double pawns. Yeah, okay. So I have nothing. I have no more attack in this position, so I have to concede that. And okay, there is actually one more attacking move I have, which is knight at g7, but it doesn't lead anywhere because I've got no other pieces in hand. So I have to concede. That's it for my attack, and drop back. Okay. So in terms of, and to assess the position, so okay, I should, okay, now I should, Biotic Puma, I should really give you a link to the blog where there's lots of advice on Crazyhouse. If you look at the top of that blog, there's something called Guide to Crazyhouse, and yeah, one of the things, and there are also lots of links on that site. But obviously, the best way is to learn is to play it, the most fun way. Okay, so this knight takes knight. I don't want to wreck my pawn structure, so I'm going to defend with the knight, being very principled about it. But actually, even more than that, I just want to castle quickly. So that's my reason for doing that. Although I should actually be have a little bit more caution because his rook is well set up to attack a castled king. So maybe I'm going to just think about castling a second. I'm not sure. I want that bishop, which is why I was trying to incite the exchange. In those sorts of situations where the opponent attacks you, I think dropping back was better. Not only because it maintains the annoying pin, but also the bishop would be defending c7. It's a sort of, if someone attacks you, they're obviously trying to say, shoo, get away. So they're probably usually quite happy with the exchange. Sometimes you have to take, if that knight is threatening something, and the bishop is the one piece stopping that threat, because then a3, b4, suddenly the pin is gone and the knight can suddenly do whatever it's threatening to do. Okay, so yeah, so Bakkouz is now, he's got pieces in hand, knight and bishop, and he just needs to work out both how to develop and how to lay his pieces in hand. Rook g8 would be one idea, but what I'd respond with is bishop at g3, staring. Oh, wait a second. Yeah. So knight d7 has laid a weakness on c7, which I just noticed. Yeah, so the weakness on c7 is a big issue. And I'm just going to just stare at that weakness with my bishop. And the advantage of this is any exchange of bishops is going to solidify my g-file. Yeah, that's interesting. But it will also, okay, I'm going to do this just to get rid of that bishop. Now I've got another bishop in hand and he's only got knights. So I'm threatening bishop at d6, trapping his queen. And if he does any attack on me, I can always go king d2, king c1, and run my king away. Okay, so he's running with his king. Okay, I'm just going to move my bishop back. So notice, yeah, his position's compromised. The g-file is my only concern with rook g8, but now that's kind of secure with doubled pawns. Now my bishop and rook are open, attacking h7, and I'm going to be soon laying a knight on c7, winning his rook. So, yeah, that's going to be a big problem. Okay, now I've got a bishop and rook, which are just going to be coming in. Because his dark, notice the whole problem of this game is his dark squares were too weak, and okay, so this is kind of strange. I'm just keeping the g-file secure, and with these exchanges, notice my pawns are just creeping up the board. So my pawns are just becoming more powerful with each exchange, something worth noticing. So these pawns are just going to creep up the board, and this game is okay. That interesting. Yeah, so I can't lay the bishop. He takes knight takes bishop pawn. Knight takes bishop, pawn takes, queen takes. So I don't get quite what I want from that. Because I don't have control on the dark squares. So what I'll do is I'll go knight at e6, and the purpose of this move is the knight on e8 is actually doing great defensive duty. So this is a very simple move to liquidate that knight. He is threatening f2, but he has no follow-up pieces, so I'm not worried. And even if he did, I think they're covered. Okay, so I'm picking up the rook for bishop, so it's okay, and now c7 is still the weak square and still the key. Oh, sorry, okay. But he could take back the bishop, and my plan is just to sack my knight and just get in on c7 and the rook on the back rank would be the idea there. Okay, so we could run that through analysis and open it up in a study. But I think we discussed. Yeah, I think we discussed everything during the stream. Probably the best thing is if we. Yeah, so we could just look at how the game would have continued. Bishop takes h8. He was thinking bishop takes f2. Yeah, but there is no follow up though, so I just take back on f2. I'm really safe. In fact, if you go knight at g4, yeah. So this is the thing. I was actually thinking this is I can even take this knight with my queen because I have a force mate coming. So even if I take, this is not necessarily the best thing to do in a practical situation because one could make an error, but king d7, knight at c5 is checkmate, for example. But my actual thought more likely in this position was queen takes bishop, but now I just need a pawn to get in on. So the computer suggesting rook takes h7. I was thinking of knight takes e5, and the idea is I'm just getting a pawn, okay, to get in on the back rank. If you run this way, rook at d8 is checkmate. If you run this way, I should be doing this in analysis board. I'm so sorry. If I run this way, then I could even pick up the queen with. Okay, you can't because you go king e6. But anyway, this is going to be mating soon. Sorry, I should have been doing that in the analysis board. I was doing it in the analysis board. Okay, so let's see if were there any blunders according to the stockfish. A3. It doesn't like a3. Oh yeah, I missed just dropping my knight on c7 immediately. So knight d7 was a mistake because the queen was protecting c7. So let's just open this. I seem to have lost the analysis board again. Yes. So was I doing it in analysis board? Yeah, queen takes h8. Yeah, I was doing it in analysis board. Then I had this sort of idea. So yeah, so you have to go here. Okay, but what's the critical point in this game? Yeah, allowing c6 does give me a little bit of an edge. Just in terms of the structure. Bishop takes f6, g takes f6 is good. Bishop d3. So you see, it's not a big thing. It's just +3. Maybe when you're in this sort of compromised position, make the most of your weakness. So you have this sort of less good kingside structure, but you could take advantage of it by going rook g8. Okay, but I do have knight g3 to block it off. So yeah, Stockfish thinks longer and doesn't really like it so much. But okay, I made a bit of an error because after this move I actually had knight at c7 check immediately because the knight was the queen was protecting c7. But yeah. Okay, so the other thing to really watch out for is sometimes you exchange. Exchanging sometimes improves your position and sometimes makes it worse. Hi there, Mighty Marcus. Yes, it's great. I've got people wanting to play me today, but I can't. So I'm giving a sort of Crazyhouse guide to Bakkouz, so I can't really play. But if you guys, what you should do, okay, anyone who wants to play me, start a correspondence game with me. I think that will be the best thing to do. Okay, so to Bioptic Puma and to Mighty Marcus, and then even to Bakkouz, who I'm playing here. If you start a correspondence game with me, then we can actually really slow it down and have some nice. Yeah, we can both take our time and have nice discussion, and yeah. But this might be my last stream for a while. I can't play 1+0. You can challenge me because I'm trying to give some guide for beginners here on this stream. But you can challenge me to correspondence, and then I'll play. But the purpose of this stream is quite instructional. It's not to throw the pieces around and hope for the best in 1+0, which is really fun to watch. But also, I'm not very good at it. Okay, so I think something really to watch out for is exchange. Yeah, so exchanging is not always a good idea. So what you should be thinking about in this sort of position is defending these dark squares, and also thinking does exchanging improve my position or make it worse. So here actually maybe exchanging is a good idea because takes and I replace the bishop on g3. So you need to really get back control of these. Yeah, I'm not sure because you go bishop. Because what I was thinking is bishop back on d6, but then my plan was just putting a bishop back on f4, and then takes. Yeah, I don't know. You've created maybe a little bit of this. This would be one idea, but it doesn't really. It's not necessarily improving your position. But you want to keep control of these squares. Now here, yeah, you've now got control because the pawn is. I mean, if I put a bishop here, I could put a bishop straight away on e5 actually, but bishop at g7. And the idea of this is attacking the rook, but even just thinking about sacking on f6 and then dropping a pawn on e5, this is actually really a bit of a problem. And you can't even go rook g8 because I've actually got bishop takes h7 or even rook takes h7. So this would have been, yeah. So this is actually quite bad positionally for black. So what should black do? It's kind of difficult. Maybe knight. Yeah, you'd think knight at f5, but the problem is the bishop can just take this knight. Otherwise, that would be an idea. Maybe pushing e5 at some point. Maybe e5. Does that work? So yeah, so it's a nice idea, but unfortunately there are too many holes. Apparently the knight can come in here, check, knight can come in here. Okay, so we should play another game. I don't think there's much more to say about this game. The point is you created a hole in your position and just noticed the way I just plugged away at these dark squares. And this is kind of instructive of, and also this is hopefully instructive of, I wanted to drop a bishop on f6, but your knight is covering, so I just try and distract that knight. And it's quite hard to see what you do because whatever you do, I'm just going to take that knight off and then put the bishop where I want to. Okay. Okay, so let's play another one. So challenge me to correspondence. Yeah. Sorry, you were already challenging me. Yeah, so if people want to challenge me, yeah, challenge me to correspondence. This won't be such a long stream today, so that's why I want to just focus on Bakkouz. He's actually happy to step aside for you guys, but I really want to just play maybe 3 or 4 games with him, and let's do some correspondence off stream for anyone else wanting to improve in Crazyhouse. And like I said, I should share the link to the YouTube with all my previous streams, including Opera Yasser Serouan commentary with Opera on stream, and share my blog. There's a guide to Crazyhouse to the blog. There are tons of studies, tons of information about the Crazyhouse World Championship, which is happening. So this is all good from white so far. Queen to h5 is normal. Queen back is also playable. A little bit passive, but I'm going to go with that. So just something to say about this opening. The idea of this is white could push and attack the knight, and it's sort of position where you actually you leave the knight and happy to exchange it for a pawn. And if white doesn't take the knight, eventually you have to play knight e4 usually. In this position, other moves that white could play are bishop to g5 check, or what is often played is bishop to f4, and the idea is if the knight ever exchanges, you actually have this bishop takes f7 check, king takes, and then you're taking back, then you're going queen to f3 check with a check, and then picking up the knight, and although the check's blocked, you're threatening a knight check and almost mating. But there are some very top players who do play this as black, because it's a very uncomfortable position, but it is defendable. Okay, exchanging fine is also good, and the reason it's good is because taking the queen out, you can hit it with tempo. Queen here probably is slightly superior, but okay, so now you're giving me a choice. Defending with the pawn, which as we saw in previous games, that's going to create a weakness on c7. So it's possible, but you have to be very careful if you do that. Dropping a pawn, that's okay, but a pawn is a very powerful attacking tool. It's going to initiate a future attack. So you don't want to waste a pawn for no reason. So the move I'm going to do here, though, is what I said is just try and gain a tempo with bishop to d7. Now, I'm not saying it's the best move, but what it does, yeah, when he takes, I take back, and suddenly I've just got an extra move in development. There's a very interesting move, actually. I think white had a very powerful move in this position. And that was pawn at e6. And that's the reason why this bishop d7, which I did, is actually probably not good. Or maybe I should have taken back with the queen. Yeah, white had a very tricky move here, which was pawn at e6, sacrificing a pawn, but yeah, maybe it doesn't work. Yeah, maybe it doesn't work just yet, because he doesn't have other pieces in hand to continue the attack, and I could just replace the pawn on f7. Okay, so it doesn't. So that was fine. So I'm going to stop that now by pushing the e-pawn. It's very important to push your pawns and develop. So I could go to e6, which would be fine, or I could go e5. And I'm going to go e5 because it's defended on e5 and just feels a bit more active, just controlling more of the center. e6 feels a bit too passive. So with that move, I'm developing my bishop and my queen, opening up some lines. So yeah, white's playing this very nicely. He'll be planning on moving his own d-pawn and castling in due course. Yeah, I guess e5 is going to discourage d4. Okay, so pawn at e4 is to be honest, it's a waste of a pawn, because the e4 square was already protected by the knight. He was probably afraid that I'd push again my own pawn to e4, but the knight is guarding e4. And even if I did, it's something he could have ignored. Or play d3, so that the d3 pawn would guard e4. So pawn at e4, while he has a very nice position in terms of chess, means he suddenly has one less piece in his hand, and that piece could have been a great attacking resource. So that's a little bit of a mistake. So that's really something to bear in mind. in future. Pawns, every piece should really count for something, and ideally it should be going for an attack. Or for a defense. I mean, yeah. So castles is good. There was an interesting idea of d4 here, which may also have been good, because that's defended twice. If I take, it takes back. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was good or not. So d3 or d4 is coming in the position. Okay. So now I notice this knight, because he hasn't pushed his d pawn. This is actually because he sort of wasted time putting a pawn on e4. He hasn't pushed his d pawn, which means that some squares which the bishop would control are not under control. So if you push the d pawn, he'd have threats like pawn at h6, which would be more immediate threats. And so it's given me an opportunity to strike myself. So the knight can't move forwards because the queen is guarding these squares and the bishop is not protecting. So if he'd pushed the his d3 pawn instead of dropping on e4, he could now swing his knight in to g5 and have a much better position. Okay, so what this move is doing is just forcing him back. Okay, he's gone very aggressive. He's used all the pieces in hand. His idea is if I take his knight, he takes back, and he's threatening queen takes f7 checkmate. But it is ultimately just a free piece, and he's kind of used up a lot of his resources. So if I take the knight, he could even go bishop takes f7 check immediately, but I have a lot of pieces to defend my king with, and he just doesn't have any pieces. So this is the problem. He's laid his pieces on without enough purpose, and one has to defend carefully, but so for example, if I drop a bishop on f6, he could drop a pawn on g5 and pick up that bishop. So this is reasonable. I should really lay on pieces in this position. I want to play knight f6, and but just because I have so many pieces, I think I really should lay on new pieces rather than move the existing knight. I kind of wanted to move the existing knight, but I feel that this is more a wiser decision. So attack with counterattack. When is that a good idea? Well, when the attack is not going to kill you immediately, then it's a good idea to try and counterattack. The problem is that, this knight is always going to fall, in fact. So it's a little bit of a problem. So where's the queen going? Let's have a little look. So it could go here, but then I've got bishop here, and it could go here, but then I've got knight here. So it's just laying all these pieces on around my king. But it could also go here. And then I don't want to take on f2 over, because that just opens up the rook on my king. So I think this is important. Queen d3. Because if he goes the other way, I think it's getting trapped. But actually, oh, sorry, it might be getting trapped here as well. Let's check. Knight at g4. I think it's okay. Okay. Okay, he's thinking a long time. So queen d3. What is the follow-up for queen d3? Okay, so he's just going straight for the knight. I think this is dangerous. So now I have, now I have a threat that can't be ignored, as they say, because the threat that can't be ignored was knight at h3 check. Okay, I've got to be a little bit careful because he does have bishop at g5 check, picking up my queen, and then I was in big trouble. So I'm just going to quickly step back and quickly light squares. Okay, the queen's covering this, so then that's not going to work. But there was, the attack was running out in any case. So what was the mistake of this game? Just playing pawn at e4 and not d3, just that last move even, queen takes knight. If you'd played pawn at e3, queen takes knight could be met with bishop takes queen. But actually it couldn't in this very particular situation, because there's something which I want to show you. So I've got now 2 knights, a bishop, and a queen in hand. And it turns out that a castled king can be mated by 2 knights, a bishop, and a queen. And I'm going to show you in study why that is. As long as these squares are unprotected, or all these squares around the king, if it's just a castle king with no other pieces supporting it, then there's a very nice mating idea with these these 4 pieces. I mean, if you're trying to play this position, suppose I had no increment, I had 11 seconds, no increment, then pawn at g3 would be very nice to defend everything. And hope I run out of time. So okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I just played that because I was running out of time. Okay, so this is a threat you can't ignore. It's very important, these threats you can't ignore. But actually it's quite difficult to meet this threat. So the bishop at h3 was a threat he can't ignore. He went for an attack on my queen, but actually bishop at h3 was a threat he couldn't ignore. He really should have taken it. And then maybe I had knight f3 check. I didn't have another pawn. So the point is I'm threatening queen at h1 mate. If he takes the bishop, I have knight at h4 and queen at g2. Okay, so I'm going to open this on analysis board and study this. But it's just that one tiny I mean, I had the same. I was playing a correspondence game and I had the same thing. I'll just show you actually a correspondence game I was playing. So suppose your bishop was open and you went knight here, check. Just wanted to show that queen takes knight, bishop takes queen. There isn't mate. There isn't mate. Okay, because the bishop is guarding the actual key squares. That's interesting. So, actually in this position, so actually this is very interesting. If this were the position, if I play h6 and you play e3, this is how small the difference is. White is actually winning in this position. If you just push this pawn and you have exactly the same position, you're actually winning. That's quite stunning. Okay, so going back to the beginning again, we've discussed it all already, but played it very nicely. So bishop here, yes, so actually this is So apparently here, yes, c6 is the best move against this. Bishop d7 is the second best move I played. And I guess the point is the bishop is going to take a couple of moves to develop so c7 is not really a weakness. So c6 would actually be good to control the center. c6 followed by d5. c6 followed by pawn at d5. And see there, dropping a pawn in the center is good because it controls the center, but it also kicks. It comes with tempo. So here, yeah, here I was slightly concerned by at e6. It doesn't work, but the computer thinks about it for a second. It doesn't quite work, but the point is then the bishop can't really develop quickly. But the point I can replace the pawn, eventually push this pawn, eventually push the other pawn. So it doesn't quite work, but it's a really annoying idea. So the game will continue. Knight f3, pawn at f7. And just black is very, very passive, this double e pawn. It's just not good at all. So yeah, so it would still be you've given up material for it. Okay, but this is a big mistake. Pawn at e4, because look, I mean it's nice to have a nice central pawn, but I was thinking e3. Is that so bad? So it's not the best move in the position. So what the computer likes is bishop at b3, just putting pressure on this central pawn instead of it already can't advance because it's so just put pressure on it, and then you're going to castle to a really safe king. Oh, now it's thinking that's not a good idea. So why was it saying that earlier? Yeah, I mean I would castle immediately here, but for some reason at lower depth it was saying bishop at b3. I would definitely I'd either castle or oops, I don't want to promote it completely. Or I'd go d3. Those would be the two moves that would come to my mind. Bishop at g4 apparently is another possibility. Trying to see if hitting the knight. The idea of bishop at g4 is you're hitting the knight, and then takes, and then you're going to take on e5. So these are moves. I'm going to have to strengthen this pawn. So maybe actually e6 was better, because the e6 is less of a liability. I was just trying to be a bit more active, because if I go e6, you've got d4 coming, or castles, and then d4. What's wrong with d4? Doesn't like it at all. At h3. Yeah, I mean, so apparently this is good for black, but it's not obvious. Okay, so anyway, to finish the game, yeah, this is a mistake. It allows me to sort of hit you with a lot of, and yeah, now you're sort of sacking hard. So if this was a Bakkouz, you could get stuff from partner, and I don't necessarily defend so well. So apparently, just going king g8, let you drop a pawn and hide behind it would be good. Dropping a knight, I give away a lot of my advantage, apparently. And again, yeah, maybe this is a nice move, this knight check and picking up the bishop again. So instead of dropping with the knight, maybe, yeah, so moving the knight was my kind of first instinct, to move the knight, because it opens up my d file, and then my other pieces in hand can be used for the attack. But I just felt I needed to be safe. I just wanted to place more pieces around my king. Okay, so again, I should have probably moved back to g8. I'm worried about pawn f7, but you can't really put a pawn on f7 because the knight is busy taking the bishop, and then I could capture f7. So anyway, so this is still only -5. It's only a slight advantage if you do moves like bishop takes e6, king takes e6, pawn at d4. Yeah, you need to develop quickly. d3, d4. You need to. That's sort of sacrificing a pawn, but it's just going for the knight g5 idea. Okay, so black is winning, but d3 may be better. Who knows? But yeah, then this is all over. Okay, but I think the real important thing in this game, it didn't push the d pawn quick enough, and didn't have time to play at e4. Okay, so should we go last game? Who's not muted? Okay, last game. So yeah, from the first couple of games, yeah, beware of the weakness on c2, c7, and think about when you're exchanging pieces. Try and think: is that going to improve my position or improve my opponent's position? And from last game, so every move has to count for something. So you don't want to waste moves, and it does get so critical. A move like at e4 seems so harmless, but it's just that one tempo. If you push the d pawn, suddenly everything you want to do later, your bishops that would have been defending knight g5 already, stuff like this. It's just such fine margin sometimes. Okay, so e4. I'll go with down this route again. You played this nicely last night. Okay, that you're hanging e4. If I could just take knight takes e4, but okay, I won't, because that would already put black with an advantage. Okay, so we're going to play completely off theory for this game, because I don't think I know what I'm doing. So yeah, this d3 e4 setup does mean a sacrifice on f2 is possible, but I don't think it's valuable necessarily. So, or not yet. Bishop takes f2, king takes, knight g4 check, king could just step to one side, and my queen is under attack. Okay, but another idea is I could just go knight g4 straight away, let you take my queen, and then go bishop takes pawn check. And if you step up, yeah, this is very pretty. This is very pretty. So I'm afraid I think this is. Oh, yeah, I miscalculated. Oh no, I didn't. Hang on, let me think. Yes, I might be just playing complete rubbish right now. Because what I was thinking is there is this line where you have two. If you have another knight, but maybe this knight's guarding. Okay, so I might have just played complete rubbish here. Let's just see. If you take my, so you're going to have to calculate it basically. If you take my queen, I take your pawn check. If you try and ever step to d2 in the hope of running away, I can always go to e3. But you can always go to e2, and I don't have a knight in hand to catch you. But I do have a knight on the board. The problem is if I go knight to d4, you can just take that knight. So what the question is yeah, and it just doesn't work. Because if I ever go to knight to d4, takes the knight, I can never take back because you have queen at e7 checkmate. Once you've taken my queen, you've got queen at e7 checkmate as a threat. So if I move that knight's guarding that threat. So now if the first three games were like just one or two critical moves, we're just into. So yeah, I think you should take it up. Okay, so if I'm just going to calculate this again, bishop takes pawn, king here, I think king e2 straight away. I can't move both the knight and the bishop away because the knight and the bishop are both guarding the mate on e7. So I'm going to go knight takes pawn. So I'm going to go knight takes pawn with the idea of just winning a rook and just having a good attack. And then the knight will still have some control. Okay, so here, yeah, this is interesting because your queen and rook are both under attack, but maybe the best move. I'm not saying it is the best move. Yeah, so queen e2 is a very nice move because it covers here. So I was thinking, would a move like bishop h4 work? And I think it would. I could take the queen, but you take back, and I haven't got queen f2 mate because the bishop covers. I could take the rook for free, yeah, but equally you don't have mate because my knight covers e7 and d8. Okay, queen e2 is nice, but I think you need to get safe quickly now. Because my threat is still pawn at f2, and I have another threat, which is rook at e3, which should be slightly nasty. Okay, but you ignore, okay, so you cover e3, but you ignore f2. So I think the best move for you in that situation is just castles queenside, safe forever. Oh, not quite. So interesting, castles queenside, I'd have rook at a1 check. And you could give up the queen back, or you could just move the knight back. No, you don't really want to do that. Or you could go king d2. So castles queenside, king d2. I think that would, yeah, maybe not. Because then I swap, and I've still got a rook in hand. Maybe knight back, and I go rook takes a2. So I think that would be a more interesting line. Castles queenside, rook a1, knight back, rook takes a2. And you've got the queen in hand. And maybe see if you can do something. But okay, so you're going for something more aggressive. You're going maybe something like knight takes c7 check, picking up a rook yourself. The thing is that I could just take the bishop with my king, and that kind of defends everything. But also I don't even need to do that. I could also go pawn at f2. Okay, e3 is defended, so that's quite a nice thing about this move. Also, it defends e3. Pawn e2, you can just swing across, and the other knight. So the knights are doing a good job. Notice the knights on light squares cover dark squares, so all your pawns are on light squares, but the knights cover a lot of these important dark square weaknesses. The one place they don't cover is f2, which means I'm probably going to come in on f2. Unless I can see another idea. But do I go pawn at f2 or rook at f2? Rook at f2 is quite interesting because you'd have to go queen d1. Okay, I'm going to do this. So here the perfectly safe thing to do is just to go king takes bishop. Yeah, so okay, this is too crazy. So the crazy idea I had was rook at f2, queen d1, rook takes knight, but you don't have to take back. And then I'd have pawn at f2, king to d2. And yeah, it doesn't work. Okay, so I'm just not going to do this. I need something more powerful. Because it doesn't come with check and stuff like this. I'm going to go pawn at f2. It just puts a pawn down. You don't really want to sacrifice your queen because so you're forced to step to the side, and you're actually quite well defended because the knight defends e1. Yeah, so that's quite interesting. So if I ever do get an opportunity to put my rook on e1, going to d2 means it doesn't come with check. So that's a reasonable thing. Okay, well, I'm just going to take your bishop. And the bishop's a nice attacking piece. So yeah, so then you have to think, I've only got a queen in hand, how do I liquidate all these problems? It's not so easy. Um, so you might think queen at g5, but then I can go bishop at f6. Oh, but then the knight's guarding that. So I think that's a possible idea. And then you'd be coming in on g7. So yeah, that is quite a strong idea, and it forces me to. I've got all these pieces I'm hoping to attack with. I may or may not have an attack, but that forces me to curl up in defense a bit. And while I'm curling up in defense, it gives you an opportunity to pick up some pieces to to, to liquidate some of the problems. Yeah, so yeah, queen at g5 is strong here. Because I can't really defend g7. If I defend on f6, you simply take it, takes back, takes, and you're winning the rook. So I'm forced to defend on e7. Yeah, so you do get in. And okay, let's see. That queen takes rook is a very serious threat, so I have to move the rook out the way. Okay, knight takes bishop. Okay, that knight was a good defender. I'm going to go knight takes just to keep the bishop ideas alive. And I'm going to hope that I don't have a smothered mate because my king is a little bit smothered. But okay, now you've got some pieces, so time to defend. Really nice move, because that's covering d3 but also attacking. That's really, really nice move. Where's my bishop? I don't have a bishop in hand, this is a problem. So what I'm going to do is going to do a little bit of a... try and do a little bit of counter-attack. I'm going to have to go defensive a little bit. But yeah. Because what I really wanted to play last move was bishop at e3, but that move prevents me from doing that. So I think bishop takes knight, bishop takes bishop, bishop takes knight, bishop takes bishop, and then that was probably stronger because I get to take this now. And now my bishop is still an attacking force. So that was... So, and yeah, the problem now is that knight was a great defender. So your knight and your bishop were the two key defenders in your position. The bishop was guarding e3 and the knight was guarding e1. So suddenly this is looking quite scary. If you go back, I'm going rook at e1, and this is checkmate because I'm picking up the queen with check. Oh, is it checkmate? Yeah, it is. Right. So yeah, it was a very sharp game there. Yeah, it was a good game. It's just just you had to keep your defenders in place while also maintaining your attack. That's why that bishop check. When you went bishop check, I was like, wow, that's a really good move. Bishop at g5 check. If I look at the computer evaluation, yeah, you're plus 3.7 at that stage because you're both attacking and you're defending. Plus 7. It's really liking your position. And so yeah, I try and defend with knight at e6. There's a very cute idea you had here, which I didn't see at all. It's knight takes e5. threatening knight takes f7 smothered mate, which is kind of really difficult to defend against actually, because my pieces are not developed. I'd have to do a move like c6 or rook f. I mean, something like c6. Got very big dark square weaknesses. Or go rook f8, but that looks really, really dangerous. Yeah, I don't see that. Don't see that as well. Sorry, rook at f8. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, rook f8 didn't make sense at all to me. Yeah, rook at f8 but now I can't attack at all. I'm just all curled up in defense. But with this move, yeah, you're losing your attacker, and now you're losing your defender. And at this point, I was thinking king c3 was necessary. Yeah, I think king c3 was necessary to get away. And then I don't have an immediate mate, but here I do. Yeah, so just going back to the beginning of the game. So very nice play. So this move is not entirely sound. Apparently bishop takes f2 is a thing here, which I'm not surprised by it, but I just didn't know how to continue. Because knight g4 check, king e2. Oh, I see, you just sacrifice your... and there it is. If he takes the queen... Oh, of course, this is it. So this is the mate I was thinking of. Because the knight is a key defender of d4. This knight comes into d4. Now this is when you play the game, you really have to get used to certain patterns. So one of the patterns is that two knights, which are 3 apart like this, control these squares, because one of the knights controls these 2 squares, and the other knight controls these 2 squares. So they control a square of squares, which means the king's only got 2 places to go, here or here. And both of these squares can be covered by diagonal pieces. Very important to cover this by a bishop, so you stop the king from fleeing. That's why bishops are very, very nice. Yeah, that's the trick I was kind of going for. This kind of mating idea. But I kind of got later. I was going for this kind of idea, but I kind of mixed it up. I had to go queen. I needed the queen takes bishop for it to work. So bishop takes pawn was the idea. Bishop takes pawn. Bishop takes pawn is definitely an idea which I was kind of going for, but I kind of got things all in the wrong order. And that's why I chose knight takes f2, because when I realized it wasn't working, because in this position it doesn't work because the knight is covering the e5 square. So I went for knight and I took the rook and just went through in a check and then took the bishop. So yeah, queen at g5 is a very key move. Apparently even rook at f6 is good for defense, but I don't see why, because then you take here. So yeah, this is a really nasty position for black to defend. So takes. Yeah, I mean, so at f6 would be really turning the screw on the position a little more than what you did. This allows me to liquidate a little bit. Queen takes f7. Yeah, you're letting me take your best piece, and then you're letting me take your defending piece, and then with the knight moving out of the way, you're removing your second defending piece, and now I'm in. Yeah, you had a solid position. Well, you're saying it's a solid position. It's actually a slightly scary position, but you have a queen in hand, so you have a big attack. I wouldn't say this is not a solid position, but it's well defended. There are certainly holes in the position, but they're all well defended, and that's all that matters. Yeah, and so if I distract those 2 key pieces, then suddenly your position becomes quite fragile. Okay, so thanks for the games. Hopefully it was an enjoyable stream for everyone watching as well. Any last thoughts? Maybe, yeah, so bishop d5 is nice. So okay, there's the knight takes e5 idea. What are the other ideas here? So okay, I'll have to admit, I was thinking bishop takes knight here. But again, yeah, the computer doesn't like it. I was thinking I'd have to take with the bishop. That's why I was thinking this. And so then I'm taking away my attacking piece, and then queen takes f7. So this is also good for you. But the computer doesn't like it because it thinks I can go rook takes, and then I have another rook to protect my back rank. So this is still, then I still have my bishop in a very aggressive position. Okay, in terms of something more generally, actually, yeah, this pawn is really well defended for now. So at some point you might be thinking of liquidating this pawn, but actually it seems like it's difficult to liquidate because it's too well defended. So you just have to protect all the other squares. No, we all need to improve, Bakkouz. So don't say you suck. The bishop was holding it together and the go to it. Yeah, that is true. Even knight takes e5. If you did knight takes e5, you don't need a bishop, though. This is interesting. Because you're threatening mate in 1, and it's just difficult to defend. Rook here, then drop a pawn at f6, and so on. I think the other key thing is not only you gave the bishop away, but the bishop was a really powerful piece for me, because you have certain holes in your position. I only had a knight and rook in hand, and bishop was actually also just the piece I needed. I think that's also the thing. Not only the bishop was holding your position together, but the bishop is really key piece for me to get in. So yeah, hopefully a good learning experience, and hopefully it's instructive for anyone just under 2,000 Crazyhouse who's just trying to improve. Okay, so thanks for watching, everyone, and goodbye. And I should say, actually, just before I stop, in 2 hours there's a Crazyhouse World Championship match between Opperweisen and Master Tan, which I expect Jan Lee might be streaming, but he hasn't confirmed for sure he is. So I might be streaming it if Jan Lee isn't streaming it. So look forward to seeing you either streaming it or in the chat room watching it. See you. Bye.